Meanwhile, out in California, Governor Gavin Newsom, taking a page out of President Trump's playbook, the Democrat is calling for a law enforcement surge in California's crime-ridden cities.
The move coming after the tremendous success of the federal crackdown in D.C.
Madeline Rivera joins us now from Washington with the latest. Good morning, Maddie.
Good morning. So California Governor Gavin Newsom was pressed on whether his most recent efforts to fight crime contradict his criticism of President Trump's troop deployments. Newsom pushed back, saying California is working with local law police to bring crime down. He's deploying what he calls crime suppression teams from California Highway Patrol in areas where high crime is an issue, like San Diego, LA, and the San Francisco Bay Area. Newsom says they're building on an effort that actually began last year in Bakersfield, San Bernardino, and Oakland. Newsom adding, while the Trump administration undermines cities, California is partnering with them and delivering real results. With these new deployments, we're doubling down on these partnerships to build on progress and keep driving crime down. Democratic governors have a new statement regarding the president's suggestion that he might deploy the National Guard in other cities, saying in part doing so without the request and consent of that state's governor is an alarming abuse of power, ineffective, and undermines the mission of our service members. This chaotic federal interference in our state's National Guard must come to an end. So the White House is touting new figures in D.C. since their efforts to crack down on crime in the nation's capital began. They say there have been nearly 1,300 arrests since August 7th. Of those, 9 were known gang members, 5 missing children have been rescued, and more than 130 guns have been seized. They also say 50 homeless encampments have been cleared. Guys, back to you.
Maddie,
Thanks, Maddie.
Thanks, Maddie.
You know, it really is amazing. Former President Obama always weighs in with like the most academic arguments about everything and reminding us how annoying everything with him was always so academic. The idea that Gavin Newsom is suddenly now trying to mimic Trump and sending a surge into these cities. This guy has been in government for 20 years as governor for the past 5 years. And the idea that he's only now sort of getting serious about the problem that Republicans, but specifically Donald Trump, has been talking about for decades is kind of astonishing.
And I have to say, as the resident Californian, the California correspondent here, I suffered under him as mayor of my city when I lived in San Francisco, there as governor in California. And you are right that the ineptitude, the ineffectiveness for so many years, these towns have languished. I was born in Oakland. I'm from the Bay Area. The notion that somehow he has been caring for his constituents and those residents there is so laughable. The crime has absolutely skyrocketed. That town in particular has been gutted. And the notion that he somehow has either saved it or has been caring for it this entire time as an appropriate steward there's nothing further from the truth. He has been instead, he was enjoying his ranch in Montana. He's enjoying French Laundry in Napa, enjoying his Plump Jack wine label, while there have been massive spikes in violence and discontent there. So it's so frustrating to see on one hand a president that actually cares what happens to Americans and their safety, and then to have only lip service from this charlatan there who thinks that he represents California.
Well, and to Charlie's point, you know, we forget former President Obama's attempt to sound smarter than every other voter. Here's a little bit of what he was saying on X, to your point, Charlie. He says, the erosion of basic principles like due process and the expanding use of our military on domestic soil puts the liberties of all Americans at risk and should concern Democrats and Republicans alike. So that's interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at the model of National Guard supplementing and helping with the overall crackdown in D.C. and the results that we've gotten, you would think that every city would want it. But of course, now, as it looks like it's headed to cities like Chicago, there's nothing but pushback. Illinois Governor Pritzker saying that, you know, we don't want them. It's unneeded, whatever. Here is Caroline Levitt talking about that.
For 7 consecutive years, Chicago has had the highest murder rate among U.S. cities with more than 1 million people. In 2024, just last year, Chicago's murder rate per capita was 3 times higher than Los Angeles and nearly 5 times higher than New York City. That's more than double the murder rate in Islamabad and nearly 15 times more than Delhi. Out of Chicago's 147,899 reported crimes this year, that's how many crimes have been reported in Chicago since January 1st. There have only been arrests in 6 14% of them. These numbers are unacceptable. And Chicago has also, just like DC, come under scrutiny over discrepancies in its homicide data reporting. So as bad as these numbers are, perhaps they are even worse. And this is Governor Pritzker's legacy. He should put politics aside. He should pick up the phone and call this president, who would be more than happy to do right by law-abiding American residents in the city of Chicago, and we hope that he will.
Although I don't think that's going to happen. Here you go. Illinois Governor Pritzker, former President Obama are going to try and resist this. We've got Tom Homan coming up, and I'm excited about this interview because he has been at the tip of the spear on this crackdown, and who knows, for all we know, there could be a plan in action as soon as today to go into Chicago.
That's right.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.